say this. Every time I try to place any kind of comment, just expressing my opinion on the article, comments were being deleted like ASAP. I'm not even joking. The comment section on People magazine, so highly monitored, it's crazy. They're actually banning and deactivating accounts for people literally expressing their opinion, which really shows you how much damage control they are, trying to do. So you can't even comment on there, and it's just so fake. So back to what she said. She basically tries to talk about the TIG like it was the best thing in the world, like it was better than being in the royal firm. And she also talks about building a legacy for Archie and Lilibet to enjoy when they grow up, like she's some kind of Martha Stewart, Nigella Lawson type character. It's just insane and weird. As I read this article, I just realized it was so weird. She talks about her stealing other people's names and trademarked brands, as I was just figuring it out all in real time. And it's kind of like, no, you wasn't just figuring it out, Meghan. You was literally stealing people's ideas because you have no concepts of your own. So she goes on to say that although she has faced intense public scrutiny at every step, Meghan says that the experience has been defined by growth. I appreciate everyone who gave me the chance to make mistakes and figure it out, and also be forgiving myself through that. It's a learning curve, she says. And it's kind of like, you never done any research. You're always hashing it up. You never get it right. You was only just kind of like digging through people's tragedies and being a disaster vulture a few weeks ago for literal desperate PR. And you use some poor little 15-year-old as some kind of, I don't know, gimmick to let everybody know, them and their grandma, that you're a lovely person. It's just weird. So she calls this figuring it out. So apparently this interview was done during the time in which Harry was working on the Invictus Games, which I think is probably one of the only positive things that comes out of the Sussex camp to date. I really do think that ceremony is very important, even though Meghan has kind of tainted it with her negativity and her narcissism and her me drama. So she talks about having this shared name, and I think that this is kind of like she's biting back at those who criticize her, and she knows it's kind of irking when she talks about how she's using the Duchess title and she's a Sussex and it was bestowed upon her by the Queen, who she had no respect for in her latter years of life. She made the woman feel like a monster, and she branded her as a complete nasty racist on a public forum right before, literally a week or 2 weeks before her husband, her beloved husband, Prince Philip, passed away. May he rest in peace. So she says, it's our shared name as a family, and I guess I hadn't recognized how meaningful that would be to me until we had children. I love that this is something that Archie, Lily, H, and I all have together. It means so much to me. It's like, what? All you've done is trust the very firm that has given you this platform to even be having a show on Netflix. Meghan Markle, as we all know, she didn't have a BAFTA, she didn't have a Golden Globe, she didn't have any Oscars. She was just a sitcom actress, right? I mean, that's what you call it, a cable TV actress. No one even really knew about Suits over here in the UK. No one really knew about Suits, to my knowledge, over in the US. It's kind of like, what? You have no appreciation for what has been given to you. So she makes reference to the Queen and how great it all was. And you can tell there's a lot of tongue in cheek going on here. It's kind of like she's saying, the Sussex name, she adds, it's a part of our love story. Okay, so trashing your family isn't, we're just going to act like you didn't do all these things. You're just going to carry on. To be honest with you guys, this interview really highlights how delusional it has gotten for them, because you can't just march forward without tying up loose ends. Talk to your dad, your family, especially your black side. Why wasn't they at the wedding? Are you not going to at least apologize? Do you have any kind of regrets over the way in which you treated the Queen in her last years on this planet? It doesn't come across. So there's a lot of kerfuffle as well, as I've mentioned before, of her basically talking about how fantastic the TIG was and how she had a fantastic, fabulous career. She's not an influencer, by the way. But her love for Harry was so intense that she closed it for him. She done him a favor. Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna marry this prince. We're in love, and I have this fabulous, amazing, big, fantastic career. Even though I was buying followers back in the day, because let's face it, she had like 10 million followers on the TIG. Now she only has 2.2 million. So what gives? She closed it down for her amazing love story with Harry. So she says she doesn't identify, obviously, as being an influencer. And I would agree with her. But one thing she's not is an entrepreneur. We both know the star of that family is right now, and it is Harry. It always has been Harry. That's the truth. He may not be liked, but we've watched him grow up from a tiny small boy to a man. And the truth of the matter is, he's the only one who's kind of like pulling in some bacon around there, because everything that Meghan does is a massive flop. And indeed, this is going to be a flop because she can only ride on the coattails of being hate watched. Can I say that? For so long. I know that a lot of people are canceling their Netflix subscriptions on a daily because they're sick and tired of this. They don't understand why she still has this $100 million Netflix contract to produce two docuseries, one of which was Trash in the Royal Firm. The most successful project to date for this couple has literally been Harry's book The Spare, but everything else has kind of fallen on deaf ears. They've kind of turned into a laughing stock and the fodder of tabloids, really. And I don't think it's getting better for her. So she says, I see myself as an entrepreneur and a female founder. Founder of what exactly? Your claim to fame still really is your husband. You haven't founded anything. You've stolen as ever from a brand outside of New York City, or in New York City, sorry, a vintage clothing brand, which I'm now supporting on Instagram. I've started following them because it's kind of like, hey, you're just going to trample all over other people's concepts. You're just going to take trademarked names and kind of wheel out these random products like, I don't know, pancake batter, jam, a couple of utensils. It just doesn't really make any sense to her or anyone else. I don't even think she even knows what she's doing. And she's calling herself an entrepreneur. Yet I doubt she's really shifted a single jar. And I don't think she's going to shift many jars, to be honest with you, of her jam. So she calls herself, quote unquote, Mama Cooks and Mama this. Like, what is even that about? What is that terminology like? Does she think that's kind of like some black slang or something? I don't even know where she's going with this. She's like, Mama Cooks, Mama does this. Everybody knows when Mama's in the kitchen that a storm's about to be whipped up. It's like, Meghan, please give us a break. So she doesn't consider herself a trad wife. I mean, I don't know if that's a thing in America. What does this even mean? Where are we going with this? I like being able to do a hybrid. Okay. And then she talks about ordering a Chinese takeaway. So it's like, you're a hybrid wife? I don't understand this. And then she talks about her friends. So her friends intersect again. And they're like, that outlook was first noticed by a friend who visited the set and came up with the name of the show. Their takeaway was, they were so happy to see me as myself. It's like your love letter to all the things you love to do. And if you're signing off a love letter, it's with love, Meghan. My friend helped to create it. She bangs on about basically saying, hey guys, yeah, I'm not completely disliked. I have friends somewhere, So she wants us to really know that she has loads and loads of friends who want to see her in her rawness. They're celebrating this new era of Meghan. Like, the royal family didn't happen. So there's no mention of the royal family. And I think this is another spin on their PR because there's been so many flops. Harry and Meghan had this whole thing last year where they was kind of like trying to separate from each other. They was doing all these separate engagements and separate publicity events. I think that was more for the benefit of Harry because he had become tired of her. And obviously sources are always swirling. Information is always swirling that they're not actually an item anymore. It's kind of like a business relationship. They're not together. She can't turn it around. He doesn't know why he is still around. And so, he's sick and tired of being her breadwinner and being a part of this train wreck situation. So she says they spend all this time with me at home and at their houses or out at dinner. For them to see they know to be reflected on screen, or for them to see who they know to be reflected on screen, it brought them a lot of joy. Whatever, Meghan. Boring, snooze, weird. I just feel like this article is weird because it's kind of like, when there's an elephant in the room and someone's doing everything to act like it totally didn't happen. and they just feel like they're just going to cruise through this. And it's kind of like, whoa, you're not just going to cruise through. This happened. So she bangs on about the importance of community. And I was like, whoa, she didn't just, no, she's definitely pulling our leg. That's a UK expression, like, taking the piss. She's definitely pulling our leg here. She talks about the importance of children having a community. And it's kind of like, well, okay, you want your kids to have a community with all of the rich and famous, with everyone who's basically not a blood relation. But Doria, who of course is paid, she's on the payroll. And I forgot to mention, I saw some of the most sad, tragic images of her wheeling around Serena Williams, who I adore. Let me just make a disclaimer. I absolutely love Serena Williams. She's done so much for my generation. She's done just so much for this world. I love Serena Williams, and I was just I could feel her pain reeking down the camera lens. Like, Meghan clearly had called the paparazzi on herself on this lunch with Serena Williams, and she was literally clawing to her, like hanging off of her. What is Meghan's issue with this lack of personal space? And Serena looked so exhausted, tired, and uncomfortable. And I think you guys probably have seen that they done this kind of little play date where Serena was kind of playing with Lily, and it was kind of awkward. It was kind of like weird, because you just thought, well, where was Serena's kids? She has 2 kids, but it's kind of like she doesn't want them to be involved in her work commitments or her relationship with Meghan or Meghan's kids, because it was just literally Lily, Meghan, and Serena. Serena is a mother. She's a good mother. She's heavily involved in her kids. She loves her kids. It comes across. And they just wasn't there. So after, I imagine, this little weird kind of like business meeting that they had with Lilibet, who was conveniently on camera being merched by her mother, they went to I think it's an Italian restaurant somewhere out in New York, correct me if I'm wrong, and Meghan was just dragging her along, and Serena did not look pleased at all. She actually looked like she felt like she was doing charity work, which is exactly what this is. Word is that they have the same agency, so I don't know if I'm correct on that, but they have the same agencies. I felt as though she was being paid at this point. She looked like she had so many other better places to be, because she looked so bored, but she also looked extremely sad. You know, when you look at someone and you're like, this really isn't getting better for you, and I can't help you, you know? And I think that's what it is. A lot of these PR agencies pair people together. I mean, Victoria Beckham, who everybody knows, when she initially moved to Hollywood and she was trying to break into the scene, she was paired with Tom Cruise's wife at the time, Katie Holmes, and they were kind of like doing everything together. And then there was this whole thing with Cara Delevingne, the British model, who at one point, when she was kind of like breaking into the acting world, in the celebrity world, she was paired with Rihanna. And Rihanna half the time just looked uninspired. They didn't look like they was getting along, and she literally looked like she was there for the check. This happens a lot in celebrity culture. So A-listers do this all the time, or if you're trying to be an A-lister, they associate themselves, or they pay for the company of someone who has a bigger star, a higher level of influence, in order to bring the other person up. So they're kind of doing them a favor, but they're not really doing it for free. And it really did look like the agency had rented Serena out for the day. Like, she had no makeup on. She was in her raw state. She was just like, oh my God, this is probably the easiest $40 million I'm going to make. Let me just hang out with this woman. I kind of want to back out of this deal, but I've gone too far now. I signed the contract. I can only deduce from the fact that Meghan probably isn't the best company. And she's probably not the best company now. Judging by her last clip that she posted on Instagram, talking about how she's rebranded her brand from American Orchard Riviera to as ever, she looked very frantic. She looked kind of a bit, I don't know, detached. Dare I say it? She looked detached. And so Serena was really conveying all of this, and she was kind of like, oh my God, I'm here. Oh my God, why do I have to be there? I could be doing something better, like playing with my kids or getting my hair done, or, seeing people I actually know and like. That's how she looked. And it was embarrassing. And Meghan's outfit was questionable. I don't understand what's going on with her clothes, but she's always wearing clothes that are just not well fitted. And you just think, all of this Hollywood money, what's it doing for you? On top of that, she definitely called the paparazzi. So let me get to the most poignant part of this People magazine interview, which I thought was quite weird. she says at one point, oh, no, actually, it's one of her friends. You can see that as a unit, the friend says of the Sussexes, they're all very connected. After her son's recent surgery, the friend recalls Meghan sent a bouquet of balloons and a stuffed octopus from Archie and Lily with a handwritten note that said, "We thought you could use a hug with 8 arms." It's the weirdest thing I've ever read. Why? I don't understand. It's like there's this desperation. And who is this friend? I thought she said that these people were low key or work at home mums or stay at home mums who don't really want to be in the press. It sounds like a whole spiel from an agent or maybe even Megan. I doubt if it was even a real story. I mean, who really documents stuff like this? It's kind of like it harps back to the whole getting the t-shirt from Billie Eilish for this kid that's lost her house. And she's like, "Oh yeah, I had to get this t-shirt." It's like, you don't think of getting her a washing machine, maybe an Airbnb, maybe somewhere to live. I mean, like, you know, you didn't think of putting her up for the night to just like, "Here's a t-shirt. You're now homeless. Bye." You know, so she got her some balloons, blah, blah. It's so fake. It's so forced. And then it goes on to say, and when Meghan was invited to her low-key birthday party at home, she showed up despite not knowing anyone else and chatted with other women about mum stuff and life, says the pal. It was just fun and natural. She embraces her new life in her new community, whether solo or with friends. I go to yoga sometimes. I just walk in and I like say hi. And at first it was a little uncomfortable, but now I love it. It's the best thing. I had missed it. Oh my God. You know, she's probably hugging everybody in the class. You know, people who don't even want hugs are receiving hugs from Meghan because she needs to clean up her image. Who are these friends? We know that Meghan has a long history of getting her friends or her peoples to talk to the media. And People magazine is a publication, to my knowledge, that they use a lot. And I can see why. Like, they're definitely Sussex Squad. They're not truthful and they're not honest with their narrative that they're painting of this woman because they're literally deleting the comments like crazy. I'm going to insert some clips here of what people have said. I've seen it myself. I try to leave, you know, an opinion and they're just like 2 seconds, it's deleted, it's gone. So she talks about obviously being a close knit family and having a safe haven to protect. And it's like, well, you're constantly in our faces. You're trying to be private. But when people lose their houses, you're literally running the streets with your husband, looking for every single camera to kind of get some clout. You're clout chasing all the time, and then you claim you're not an influencer, or you claim you're not trying to be an influencer. You claim you're a businesswoman. Business people run businesses. You know, they're not clout chasing in the streets every 5 minutes. You know, if you're going to do charity work, write a check and stay home. You know, like all of the other A-listers who do charity work. So she says, you know, we're a close-knit family and I love those moments, putting Lily down for a nap, having lunch together, having sacred time together. I don't even think she knows the kids. There was something else in the With Love Meghan, the first episode. She kind of talked about the popcorn when she microwaved that old bit of corn and talked about it like it was a major thing when she built the friend stay over hamper thing. And she said, "Oh my God, my kids would love this. In fact, I'm not even sure because I love it more." From that statement, I thought to myself, does she even spend time with her kids? That's what I thought, because it's kind of like you either know what your kids love or you don't. It's very murky, it's very, you know, and it's nauseating to say the least. It's nauseating to watch this news first. I am going to probably dive into the rest of the other I think it's 7 episodes left or something like this. And I'll let you guys know what I think. But what can I even say? Those are my thoughts and opinions on it. It's just really her trying to rebrand herself, save herself, and clean up her image, and it's not going to work. You've done too much stuff and you haven't addressed the real pressing issues. I mean, you don't respect the royal firm. You don't want anything to do with them. You don't want to do any work for them. You're self-serving. You're self-involved. And that's another thing that really comes across in her Netflix series. She's very congratulatory and self-serving. The fact that she had no regard for the poor guy who slit his finger and he literally just worked through the pain. Like, he was literally shaking. He was like, "I've slit my finger. Oh my God, I've slit my finger." No, it's fine. He's laughing through the pain because a guy needs a check. And so I'm not going to knock him for that. If you're working with Meghan, you want to check and you want to stay in a good position. I'm sure she pays well, but, you know, there's a larger sacrifice behind that for working with someone like this. And obviously so many people have confirmed over the years how awful it is to work for her, how cruel she is, how mean she is, the 4 a.m. emails, the bullying, the chastising. I mean, she reduced one guy over here, one of the British royal staff over here, to tears, absolute tears. And she hasn't denied in the whole time, if these allegations weren't true, she would have at least come out and challenged it. Because Harry and Meghan are very good at challenging everything else. They've challenged everything else that's been thrown at them, but they've never challenged the bullying accusations. And so that tells you the true picture, what it is. She looks very, I don't want to say this, guys, but she really looks quite, do you know what I mean? Pent up, tense, and quite, you know, I don't know. She just comes across in the docuseries as like just very tense. Like she's the way she's studying this poor guy in the first episode. Like he literally looked frightened. There was a tension there. That's what I'm trying to say. Like she just looked mean. She looked like a mean girl. You know, I don't think obviously it's going to be successful, especially if people do not bother watching it, because what are we really going to get back from it? Obviously, I'm going to check in and look at all the episodes so that I can review it. But I think we all know what this is. It's a self-indulgent piece from Meghan, who is acting like her career was so much more bigger than an institution that's been standing for what, 1,000 years. It's just insane. I will be back with another video. I'm going to watch episode 2 and I'm going to review it. Take care, guys.